We are running an audible. The next on the agenda was Professor Dan Goldwasser from Computer Science, who has a sick child that came from school. So we are, again, going to call an audible here and filling in. Our next speaker, it is a great pleasure to be able to introduce him. As many of you who do know me, over the last 3 years, I've gone to the Kingdom of Jordan 7 times. Most recently, the most recent visits were all in regards to funding I had to establish a cybersecurity youth academy for college students in the Kingdom of Jordan. So each one of my visits, of my 7 visits to Jordan, included stops at Princess Sumaya University of Technology. And while I did not meet him at my very first visit, my second visit I did, and each time since then, I had an opportunity to visit his class, his students, have many a meal together, and then the great pleasure to be able to help him support his idea of filing for a Fulbright scholarship, which was successful. And it has been a great pleasure to be one of the hosts involved in having Professor Al-Haj spending an entire academic year here at Purdue. Part of our plan from the very beginning is that come to Purdue, do this research, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about some of the exciting things to do. So while I have developed many friendships with people who are in academia, both here at Purdue and elsewhere, as a kid growing up in a farm town in Illinois, I would not have predicted that I have a very good friend from the Kingdom of Jordan, and that I would also have the great pleasure of being his host in the United States for a year. So, Ali, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Joel. That's it. Okay. Thank you very much. Well, my talk is not mathematics, actually. It's about curriculum development, task force development, and I wonder if everybody heard of the GRC, because I know maybe it's a new term for some people, but everybody knows what GRC is: governance, risk, and compliance. I mean, this is a naive question, but I just wanted to make sure that we are on the right track. So, Joel said most of it. I come from PSUT, which is Princess Sumaya University for Technology. It's a small university in Jordan. It's a technical university, IT-oriented university. And I've been there since 1995. It's talking about 30 years. And I am from the electrical engineering, actually. But I was behind the finding of the information security program at Princess Sumaya University. When we started it in 1995, we started in 2014. It was the first of its kind in Jordan. But now, we have 30 universities in Jordan, private and public, and each single university has a cybersecurity program. So we have plenty of programs, but we have a problem with the curriculum. This is why when I came to CERIAS, I just wanted to be exposed to curriculum of Purdue University and other universities, and try to find some gaps that we could identify and restore. So, one of my responsibilities is also establishing partnership programs, and this is the program that we established with Purdue University. So Joel was kind enough to help me with the Fulbright, applying for Fulbright, and I came in August, and I started to do research. My major task actually was doing research in GRC, but unfortunately, I found it very limited in academia. It seems GRC is more or less into industry, actually, and very few papers, but the literature about GRC research is very minimal. And that was surprising for me, actually. So I turned to this cybersecurity curriculum development. And some of my research also I did was digital trust, because I found this is a new term that is coming up. And for some reason, like you could tell that our program was called Information Security Program Engineering. And then the new term came up, cybersecurity, and now everybody's talking about digital trust. So I thought there must be some sort of a relationship between digital trust and cybersecurity, and I did some research on that. And and CERIAS weekly seminar, I talked about it. So, but today I will talk about the gap that exists between academia and industry in terms of GRC. And I will mention some points about the GRC domains and give some recommendations. One of the recommendations is actually to partnership with organizations such as I2 and ISACA. So my co-presenter, Jeff Angel, he is the director of the academic program partnership. He will continue my presentation about what is the benefit of partnering with organizations such as ISACA in the realm of GRC. It's not clear, but this is the cybersecurity ever-expanding domains. Each single color of this, it's not clear, each single color is a domain by itself. So this is cybersecurity domains. We have application security, we have physical security, a domain, we have security architecture domain, we have security operation domain. On the right side, the green, the purple, the orange, it's all GRC. So, I mean, this has been developed in 2021. And you imagine 4 years later now, the domains have expanded rapidly. So we have, AI is not even here. And AI itself could also have as many domains as the domains listed here. So my concern now, my talk about is going to be about these governance, enterprise risk management, and risk. And these are the constitute what the GRC domains. So more technologies means new threats, means urgent need for a skilled task force. That's obvious. And then since the universities are the major pipeline for task force, the curriculum must be adapted or developed in a way to reflect the needs of industry in terms of these domains. But we have some questions that we have to ask about curriculum development. All the domains that I just showed now, what domains are covered in current cybersecurity curricula and why? What domains are not covered in current cybersecurity curricula and why? Do current curricula provide the competencies and skills needed in industry? What resources, academic and industrial, should be used to develop balanced security curricula? Is there any need for cybersecurity curricula consistency or standard? These questions that we as faculty, when we get the task of developing a cybersecurity curricula, we have to answer it. Because now it's been really a big problem what to include and what to exclude in the curriculum. And that affects the needs of the industry, actually. So what are the gaps? Looking at many cybersecurity curriculum in Jordan and the United States, there is an overemphasis on technical skills, like penetration testing, ethical hacking, intrusion detection, all those technical skills. But there is a limited coverage of non-technical skills, such as governance, risk, legal, ethics, compliance aspects. It's not really well represented in many curriculum. So little attention is given to curricula development from resources from industry. I'll talk about it later. The resources that the faculty use to develop curriculum, mostly from academia, and very limited resources from industry. And that makes the gap even larger. One of the gaps also, curriculum updates are infrequent. In academia, we don't update it frequently, so this is also an issue. So there is a need for a balanced cybersecurity curriculum, and it should provide. So I'm trying here to identify the gap. So these are the current situation. This is what we want. We want the curriculum to provide technical skills such as pen testing, forensics, but at the same time, a balanced security curricula should also provide non-technical skills such as GRC, and should also provide opportunities for certification, and also probably internship projects with industry or within the university. Is GRC important? Do you think that GRC should be included, should be covered in undergrad curriculum? A lot of professors would say, no, we don't need it. It's not something that is very important. But let's just say it is important, actually, because GRC is foundational component of enterprise security. GRC affects everything: software development, IT operations, security architecture, strategic decision making, because you need governance, you need risk management, you need compliance. And many cybersecurity breaches are due to policy gaps, poor risk management, and compliance failures, not merely technical failures. Even GRC leading frameworks need GRC knowledge, and it's a multi-billion industry. I think everybody would agree with me, because the consultancy firms like KPMG, PwC, EY, Deloitte need such expertise. And if you introduce your students to such GRC domains, I think you give them more opportunity to seek such careers. Why is it largely missing from the curricula? And let's be frank about it. I talk with a lot of professors here, even in other places. There is a misconception. GRC is for business. It's not for cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is not the right place for GRC. This is what people say. And another problem is why it's not included in curricula. Cybersecurity professors often come from technical backgrounds, either computer science, engineering, and they don't have the expertise in GRC. And when they are given the task of developing curricula, because they don't know about it, it's never included in the curriculum. So the curricula ends up just doing technical stuff. And this is something that we have experienced, actually. And the GRC topics are included in universities, but at different faculties. And when you talk to them, why don't you ask a professor from a different faculty to come and offer such classes? They said they wouldn't do that. A professor would rather be at his department, at his faculty, not going somewhere else and giving lectures. So this is also a dilemma, because they don't have the expertise. It's not included in the curricula, yet it has to be included somewhere or the other. And lack of student interest in GRC. And this is not because they don't like it, it's because they don't know about it. This is we'll talk about it later on from my experience. When students are really introduced to the GRC domains, I think they would be interested, because they have the chance to work in big companies. They don't have to work 10 years until they get into governance or get into risk management. They could do that from the beginning. And a lot of people would do that. Not everybody is interested in doing technical stuff, actually. Not everybody is interested in doing pen testing. How many people are needed, actually, in market doing pen testing? So you need to introduce students at an early age about what GRC and the opportunities they have as a career path. So how to fill the gap? How to get this GRC into the curriculum? We need to have a balanced curriculum. And the curriculum must be developed using different resources. One of the major resources that most universities use is the ABIT, Cybersecurity Accreditation Criteria. Because this is a lot of universities who seek ABIT accreditation, they have to do it, otherwise they will not be accredited. But ABIT does not really cover GRC in the real sense. A good resource, a nice resource actually, is the NICE cybersecurity framework. It's a really great resource, but it's overlooked. Few people. I'll talk about it later in the details, but it aligns curriculum with workforce roles and skills, and it's made by NIST. How many people have heard of this framework? NICE. Okay. CISP. CISP, everybody knows about CISP. This is a certification, and it's the most respected certification on cybersecurity. Why not you look at its domains and include some of it in the curriculum? A lot of people would say, well, CISP is not for university, it's for community college, it's for people who have no degrees in a way. You don't have to have it. We'll talk about it later. Then another source that it should be used when you develop curriculum is the cybersecurity frameworks and compliance standards, like NIST, ISO, and others. Another good resource is the industry advisory boards. People who work in the industry, and it's an ABIT requirement actually, could give you a feedback on what the industry needs. Also, you could look at leading universities just to benchmark your cybersecurity. I will just talk a little bit briefly about each one of these, if time permits. ABIT, everybody knows about ABIT. Most universities seek ABIT for a good reputation, actually, because if your program is ABIT accredited, then it's up to the standard, and it's worldwide. So ABIT for cybersecurity defines, will not go into details, 5 outcomes that has to be offered, or it has to be the outcome, the learning outcome of any cybersecurity curriculum. The second and the fourth, we have good coverage with GRC. So GRC, any university using ABIT to develop cybersecurity curriculum will, one way or the other, have some coverage GRC because the criteria dictate that they have to have such outcomes. But the problem is, it's just using ABIT and not using the other resources. Now, I said about NICE. NICE is the NIST standard. It's a US framework, and it's adapted. If adapted, the framework ensures cybersecurity curricula aligns with industry and government workforce needs. And this is actually the main goal behind having the NICE framework. It's been updated in 2024. I think the last version, 2.0, the last release. It has workforce categories, these categories, and between the parentheses are the number of job roles within this category. And if you could see, and you could expect, oversight and governance has 10 roles, and it has a high coverage of GRC. So GRC is well covered. NICE knows, those who develop NICE know for good, for sure, that GRC is very important, and a whole category actually talks about GRC. The problem is universities never look at it. Very few universities look at it, actually. At Purdue, I talked with the people and some faculty professors. They use it, but in a very partial way. So this is something that worthy of using when you develop cybersecurity curriculum. CISP, who doesn't know CISP? CISP is a globally recognized certification. And in 2024, they released the last version of it, and it has 8 domains, 8 knowledge domains. And also, they have a good coverage of GRC. It's worthy using when you develop a cybersecurity curriculum. Especially the first one, the fundamental domain, security and risk management. It has a strong coverage of GRC. Others may not have as strong as this one, but also GRC is well covered. It's good also when you develop a cybersecurity curriculum to look at the standards and regulation, because all students, when they graduate, even if they are fresh graduate, they have to know about the standards like ISO 27001, NIST. They will be expected to learn. Why don't you give them a chance at the undergraduate level to know what the standard is, instead of just giving them, from textbooks? So the standards should be, one way or the other, part of the cybersecurity curriculum. COBIT and GDPR. You need to teach your students about privacy as well. So using the standards as well to develop as a source of developing your cybersecurity curricula is really very, very important. Also, as I said before, industry advisory boards, they could give you a wealth of information, a relevant, what they could give feedback about what the industry needs. You learn from them, you listen to them, and you could use, the advices they give you in providing enhancement to your curriculum. So I think this is also a good source. You could as well, like when you start a new cybersecurity curriculum, you could look at other universities and see what they're doing, but that would be as a sort of benchmarking best practices to see how good your program is. So what I mentioned now is actually number of resources. The last one, and it's very important, is to partnership with security certification organizations. And everybody knows about ISACA and also the ISACA organization. So I listed about 8 resources that could be used by academia, by professors, when they develop cybersecurity curriculum. There's a gap because ABIT is maybe the only source that is being used. Other resources are not used, and this makes the gap. You have to look at what the industry needs. You can't just, because cybersecurity is expanding, you just close your eye and just stick to the traditional courses. You need to look what they need, and JCR is very much needed. And I think if it's included in the curriculum, it will benefit of students. It will give them another option for careers when they graduate. Now, this is also very important, and Jeff Angel from ISACA, he is the Academic Partnership Director, will talk about it in details. Thank you. You got it.
Everybody hear me? Perfect.
This one is making noise.
So you'll have to work the slides for me. All right. Thank you, Ali, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today. We've had a great partnership with Princess Sumaya University, and Ali did overlook one key fact. We're both alumni of Arizona State University. That's how we got together. So if you want to go to the next slide. So I'll just go quickly through ISACA, and this could be ISACA, this can be ISC squared, this could be SANS and GIAC, number of partnerships. But we're, as Ali mentioned before, we started out developing frameworks. Who's familiar with COBIT? Everybody knows COBIT, right? It's been around for a long time. Then we eventually became a credentialing company with our CISM, our CISA audit, all the GRC components that Ali mentioned. But the most important thing that we've become is an association. So as Ali had mentioned before, with the industry partnerships, informing the curriculum, which is always extremely important in these different domain areas within IT or cybersecurity, these are the folks that inform us. So one of the things that it's helpful for us with our members overall is the contributions they give to keep the credentials, keep the content relevant to industry standards. So as they see job practice changes, be it in GRC, be it in audit, risk, data privacy, that's what comes back to us, and that's what allows us to update the credentials that we offer as well. Want to hit the next one? So the way we do it, and we're about 160 different universities around the world, is we provide access to a couple of different models. We have some universities that will pull the content in to an existing class. So if we have an IT audit fundamentals certificate, they might pull it into their information assurance course. We've actually built out our larger credentials into full 3 credit hour courses, about 40 to 45 contact hours. And then we have universities that just bring it in and use it to educate the local workforce. Now, the one thing that we work with universities, and they always have challenges with, it's keeping that content up to date, but it's also finding faculty that have the domain knowledge to teach these areas. So what we've done in our program here, and I come out of higher ed as well, is that we actually build capacity in the universities themselves. So if they have faculty that maybe have some adjacent knowledge but don't have a full audit knowledge, we sponsor them to sit for and get those credentials so they can teach the course. So we try to keep them up to date, we try to keep the content up to date, and try to make it easy for the institution to be able to provide these courses around governance, risk, audit, data privacy, whatever it may be. And the thing we found, I came into this about 4 years ago, and our original hypothesis was we'd be mainly working in ITIS programs within universities. What we found, though, is that these credentials, the content of these credentials are very much transdisciplinary in nature. So Ali had mentioned, why aren't we, this is all done at a business school. We have programs in MBA programs, in supply chain programs, in health informatics, and law, believe it or not. There's many, many different use cases for it because it does cut across a number of different program areas and degrees within a university itself. So Aston University in the UK is a good example. They want to make sure all their MBA students understand the cybersecurity landscape. So it's a required course now as part of their program. And then it stacks up as we go along. At Drexel University in their law school, we actually have our CISM program as one of the required courses. Because people underneath the legal side, they need to understand what the governance risk compliance landscape is for IT itself and the companies that they're going to go work for. So a lot of different ways to put these things together, and it's, I don't want to make this all about us, but if you're working with SANS and GIAC, or you're working with ISC squared, They all have great programs to be able to bring into your existing degree programs as an elective. We do it as specializations for universities as well, where we will stack a number of these things together. But the end goal for the whole thing is obviously having your students be extremely prepared for the workforce. So for example, at Louisiana State University, we have a number of our courses that are required to go through their program. And the benefit to them, obviously, is they're one of the top IT audit programs in the country, outside of you guys. But when EY or Deloitte or the Big Four come and recruit those students, they actually get an additional signing bonus if they have a credential. So there's value in it for, obviously, the university. There's value in it for the faculty, expand their domain knowledge. But most importantly, there's value in it for your students at the end of the day. And we've got a number of different partnerships. I talked about some of these with Louisiana State. Interesting one here with Singapore Institute of Technology. We've actually built a program using all 5 of our advanced level credentials. So they stack through, and those satisfy, obviously, the credit hours they need to get their master's programs. So a lot of different ways to work with us and the other credentialing bodies that are out there, even down to the community college level. We do a lot of work with the community colleges in building the foundational level certifications, but most importantly, and you guys may not know this, but some of the community colleges we work with, the average age of their students are about 45 years old. They're looking to switch careers. So they are now becoming one of the main conduits to upskill people wanting to get into those areas of GRC. Want to talk about this? So back in 2002, we reached out to Ali, went through their program design, their degree design, and then, as Ali had mentioned before, tried to identify the gaps in the program itself. And that's what led us up to bringing in a number of credentials into his program at PSUT. So right now we've got COBIT, CISA, CERIAS, and CISM were all offered as elective courses. And I don't know, how many students have you got go through? Yeah, we've had quite a bit. And obviously the students with the high grades are given vouchers, but I think the most important thing was the matriculation into their professional, into jobs. Because one of the things that is required actually in Jordan, it's regulated or mandated as COBIT. That's the regulatory framework for the finance and banking industry. So in order for you to work in IT within that industry, you have to have that certification. And we have that in a lot of countries that we work with. We also work with, levels of government, including the UK and the EU on their cybersecurity frameworks and standards as well. So we have a great opportunity to source very good information, really leading edge information from the people that are part of our membership, and then be able to translate that into content and to credentials that are valued by, globally in just about every industry. Anything you want to conclude with?
Done. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Do you have any questions? Yes, in the back.
Thank you. Not so much a question, but an observation. I have to say I was very confused to hear that GRC was a non-technical area of cybersecurity. I've worked in GRC for many different organizations in many years. It has always required the highest level of technology skills to be the governance over technology. ISACA's certifications all are based on technology. The IT auditor was a scarce role only because there were not enough people who knew IT who wanted to do audit. It wasn't that it was non-technical. When non-technical people fell into the roles of GRC, because they couldn't be filled with anyone else, we got the CISO of Experian being a music major, and look what happened to them, okay? So this is not to be dismissed as
Well,
non-technical.
it's not that technical in the sense that there's no coding. Students don't have to do any coding. They have to write
In the
policy.
real world, there
Yeah.
are plenty of GRC people who do coding a lot.
I mean,
They are the ones
governance.
that do the metrics. That requires a lot of coding.
Yeah.
You have to know what the data means. It is not a not technical. And this is a big myth in cybersecurity that if academia adopted it would be a problem. Even in the business school GRC programs that I know, and by the way, GRC used to be called Governance, Risk, and Control. It was the vendors who changed the name to compliance. ISACA always stood for Information Systems Audit and Control Association. It's a risk management profession, not a paper pushing profession, which is what a lot of people picture GRC to be. And I've been fighting that characterization my whole career, and I hate to see it dismissed as not technical.
Well, it's most universities would look at it that way, actually. It's not, most universities will look at technical as defensive or offensive cybersecurity, like intrusion detection, ethical hacking, penetration testing. This is what they call technical. Other than that, well, this is what I'm saying, what universities would say, you know. This is why it's not included in the curriculum. This is why a lot of people would not, even for as an elective course, because it doesn't have any kind of that, the interest of attacking and defending. It's just writing policies. And some students may look at it as a boring course because it's just talking about standards, talking about making policies. This is why they would look at it as non-technical. Well, it's all technical. It's cybersecurity in the sense, but yeah. Well, risk doesn't have to be technical. Risk is with business. Risk you could find it in any domain. It doesn't have to be technical.
This sounds like a great topic to be picked up in the hallway.
Overall, very glad to hear that we all feel passionately about closing this gap. But so one question that I have, so I appreciate Dr. Ali sharing a few of the different ways that maybe our curricula is not always filling all the needs that are out there. And it seemed like this partnership program was just one of many solutions. So I'm curious if there's any kind of next steps or work still to do now that there's a way of upgrading some of the curricula, but I know there were several other suggestions of things that can help. So I'm curious what else might be in work.
I think number one is awareness for the faculty, because cybersecurity programs are offered by CS, computer engineering, computer science engineering, and they're not interested in doing things like risk management, audit, and all these things. So I think it's a sort of awareness and the need for the university, for the department to hire people with such expertise. I talked with people even in Purdue, why not having such a course? They said, we don't have any faculty who is interested in teaching such courses. And we could not afford having somebody just to teach such courses. Why not having somebody from other faculties like business to come and teach such courses? And I heard the same answer. Maybe they're not really interested in leaving their faculty and moving somewhere else. So I think it's a matter of the need for awareness, the need for awareness that there is a great need to have GRC included. For us, for example, at my university, nobody had any experience in GRC. But when I approached ISACA, I received the training, and in 1 year, I received all their certifications, actually, CESM, CISA, CERIAS, and I found it very interesting. This is what made me really interested in conveying this message to my students, that with such certifications, with such knowledge, they could have even a better chance to have better careers. You know, it doesn't have to be pen tester and all these things. And a lot of students really benefited from that philosophy in a way. So I think it's the mindset of the faculty, the mindset of the department. No, we could have it as in my university, it wasn't really difficult to include it. We included it as a technical elective. It's not core. But in the long run, I think it needs to be one core because every student needs to have it. But it's easy to include it as a technical elective, but you need to have a mindset change for the faculty to believe that it is really needed by industry. I don't know if I answered your question. Yeah. Well, I have a question, actually. Is there anybody who is responsible for developing cybersecurity curriculum in the audience? Did you ever have this kind of problem? Some domains are not really well covered, and you cannot cover everything, actually. I mean, have you ever faced such dilemma, I would say?
Included sys domains since the beginning, even in a technical like cryptography and network security class, just because I felt like application of the theory is important. But having said that, I also see a career path progression. I personally, as a hiring manager, wouldn't probably hire a fresh out from college to do GRC, because I feel like you have to have some background experience and knowledge and have paid your dues in network security, security operations, assessments, and other work before you have circumspect security architecture knowledge to be able to be an effective GRC consultant. That's just my opinion.
Well, this is also actually controversial. A lot of my students would come to me and ask me, shall I go GRC? Shall I go pen testing and those things? And I tell them, if you have a good offer in GRC, just go and take it. A lot of our students actually work for EY and PwC from the beginning. They had 1 or 2 courses at the university, so they have a good background, and they're just into it. Because like Jeff said, COBIT is mandated by the government of Jordan. Everybody has, all banks in Jordan have to use the COBIT framework. And if they have some students with a COBIT certification, he would be hired immediately. A lot of our students are hired by EW, EY, and PwC who work for Saudi Arabia and the Gulf. So it's not, they did not receive the answer that because you're a fresh graduate, you can't really work in GRC. A lot of them work in GRC from the beginning, and that's possible, actually. Maybe it's in reality, if they have some technical experience and then they move to the GRC, that would be a better. But if from the beginning, if he had the chance to work in GRC, why not?
More. So I do have a question as far as bridging the gap. My question is, what's stopping universities from looking at adjunct professors? As far as an example, so I have CISSP, I have a master's degree, but my master's is in business administration, but I've been working in cybersecurity for 3 years. When looking at adjunct positions, I'm not seeing anything that I would technically qualify for, even though I have the certificates, but I don't have the actual degree. So what's stopping universities from looking at people with the certificates, with the job experience over that actual piece of paper diploma?
Well, I don't know. I think university, because in my university, it's possible because we have a business school and sometimes we have people from the business teaching such things. But in Purdue University, I talked to some professors, it's not possible. Maybe Joel, could comment on that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's a case of just academia. You know, there's, I mean, it's been for years that we've talked about, especially commercial companies putting, here are our requirements. When, you know, even now, I mean, the science of cybersecurity is now 20 plus years old. This is our 26th annual. So just a show of hands, who in the audience that is a working professional in cybersecurity who has a degree other than computer engineering, computer science, or cybersecurity? But companies today still say must have a degree in. And that is just not the reality of how many of us ended up in this industry. Now, granted, I believe that we're in a point of transition because 20 years ago, very few people thought about pursuing a career in cybersecurity, where today, you know, we have 800, please fact check me, those in the Polytechnic, 800 cybersecurity majors, over 1,000 students in the computer science security track. So 1,100, thank you. 1,100 undergraduate cybersecurity majors and over 1,000 computer science security track. So there are people moving this, but back to the question, there are sometimes, it may look arbitrary, sometimes I believe it is arbitrary in what are the requirements for X job in cybersecurity that limits opportunities for many qualified people for even applying. And then, you know, these, especially for the larger companies, I'm off on a tangent now. For the larger companies now with AI, if it doesn't have the right buzzword, you won't even, your resume is not even seen by a real person.
Joel, I have a question for you. Well, I'm in CERIAS now, and CERIAS is the whole mission, or the main mission of CERIAS is to bridge the gap between industry and academia. I think this is the mission of. Will CERIAS take the initiative and establish some sort of partnership with SANS, ISACA, or these places? Is there any constraints about it? Is there any, no, you can't do that? I mean.
No, of course not. ISACA, SANS, all those, they want to come and have a formal relationship. Of course, we're very, very interested in being involved.
Well, it's not so much a question, but I want to let you know, I came from law school, privacy law. I came to Purdue 4 years ago to learn the other side of the road. I always tell people I had to jump in bed to figure out what they were doing on the other side. So your dilemma of GRC, in fact, I just got the GRC risk invitation to come to Chicago in about 3 weeks, is real. And it goes both ways. So it's not just from the technical side, it's from the legal side as well. I'm a compliance officer for an aerospace company, and it's real every day. So it's not so much a question, but I want to reaffirm that your dilemma is real.
Oh, thank you. So do you believe GRC is non-technical, or is it technical?
I'm an engineer at heart. So, you know, from an engineer to law school and now to come to Purdue in technology, I came to computer science because I needed to understand the computer science. I went over to the aerospace business and I learned on human error. I spent time over with the 3 different schools here at Purdue just to finish up my degree. I hope I make my defense here in about 8 days. Please stop. Anyway, but it's both. It's technical and it's non-technical.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.